Well, I'm still expecting my second guest, Mr. Babatunde Gbadamosi of the PDP, so that he can give his perspectives on the program just before we close. I hope that he's able to join us before the end of the program. But I see holding down Mr. Festus Keyamo, who has been telling us about his views on the matter. Thank you for, I've actually discharged you at some point, but as we expect the second guest to arrive, tell me, with what we saw, the agreement, the body language that we saw at that peace accord, we saw the two top contenders, the president and the APC candidate, they hugged themselves, and it shows to all Nigerians that these guys are on the same page. We cannot have bloodletting for this election this time around. Absolutely, and that gesture, that is all what the agreement was about, is to send a message. It is not a legally tenable document. It's only binding in honor. It's not something you can tender in court. It's not admissible in evidence against anybody for any purpose whatsoever, but it's binding in honor. And it sends a message to the supporters that if our principals can behave this way, then we must also, behave, ourselves. But let me make it clear that it's not a clear-cut issue that once the, candidate of the APC is attacked, then it must be the PDP, and vice versa. It is not also clear-cut that when it is the candidate of the PDP that is attacked, then it must be the APC people that's attacking, the candidate of the PDP. I said it before, that even the governor of Bauchi State had to admit himself that the violence that happened in Bauchi State had nothing to do with the APC. And that's the PDP governor saying that it was the PDP members. And it could be the same thing in River State. They were angry about what happened within the party. There are a lot of camps within the PDP. And you agree with me that after the last primaries, the PDP has lost more members to other parties than even the APC. That is a fact. That's to tell you the way the primaries were conducted and how people were, totally disillusioned about what happened. Again, I can even quote the national chairman, Muazu. If you remember, during the inauguration of the campaign committee, he expressed his frustration also about what happened within his own party. And that's no less than the person of the chairman himself, saying that there is no justice within the party. He said so openly. And if there's no justice within the party, it is the injustice within the party that is getting these reactions for most part of the country, even against the president that you are seeing. It is mostly members of the PDP. We themselves. Know in most cases, the principals, the candidates themselves may not go out with arms and ammunition fighting one another. It's usually from the supporters, perhaps sometimes members of the political parties. But in this case now, it's just few days away from the pact, and we're seeing these kind of things happening in Bauchi, Katsina, and in River State. What do you think the leaders and principals should be telling their supporters as they go into the campaigns? I think they should even have, they need to stop for some time. They need to, call a truce with all these, adverts and all they're taking against themselves, and devote 2 days of this campaign to preaching non-violence. So I think they need to come back together and make a pact that perhaps this week we are going to now, for 2 days, all political adverts will stop. Both parties will preach peace for 2 days non-stop, and then they can go back again to the trenches. I think they need some kind of time like that, some kind of breathing space to talk to their supporters, because you see, today you are telling them about non-violence, tomorrow you are preaching hate. You are taking adverts against the other party. You are throwing mud. You are inciting. This is a very emotional, campaign. Emotions are involved. As we speak, some people don't even want to listen to the logic of what you are saying. Once you are the supporter of the other side, they begin to abuse you the moment you begin to make your points. I read somebody at the weekend, I'm sure one of the supporters of the other side, he's just abusing me. He didn't address the issues I raised in most of my write-ups, in most of my interviews. He was just abusing me. This Festus self, he only likes to be heard. That's the kind of reaction, emotional reaction you get from people. They don't address the issues that you raise. So it's a very emotional time. The U.S. Secretary of State, Mr. John Kerry, is in Nigeria. And the thrust of his message to the politicians, especially to the top contenders, that there must not be violence.
It shows how critical even the international community is taking this particular election.
I agree. But it is suggestions like this postponement that can bring violence.
How?
So that's why I said it's both.
You think anybody might go out in arms because of the postponement?
Oh, absolutely.
Call?
If any side feels shortchanged by the process.
Not cancellation, it's postponement.
Yes, if anybody feels shortchanged, let me tell you this. Because of the problems we're having, insurgency in certain parts of the country, and then we're not sure of what will happen during the elections, whether there will be violence and all that, you cannot push the elections to something very close to the deadline as required by law. If you are going to throw the country into constitutional crisis. Okay, remember, if that the other time, if there had not been enough space, given by INEC to conduct elections, the other time they had to shift the elections when they realized that on the day of voting could not go on. That's 2011, when they had to shift. If they had not given enough time, it would have been constitutional crisis, because there is actually a stipulation of the minimum number of days before May 29 that you should hold elections. So now if you shift the date to such a date that you don't have breathing space to reorganize yourself, if you don't have any space to reboot, as it were, and there's widespread violence and all of that, then you are throwing the country into constitutional crisis that may lead to something else. So that is why it is reasonable, that's why it is reasonable to hold it well ahead of time. And that is the wisdom between, in fixing the date for February 14. This day has been fixed more than 1 year ago. Has been fixed. So it is obvious, therefore, that this call for postponement is nothing but mischief on the part of the ruling party. It is mischief, nothing more than that. I made my point earlier that it is the ruling party calling for it. Yep. Because have you seen the reaction of the PDP? No. They kept an ominous silence since the suggestion was made. The APC reacted immediately and said, we are against it. Other parties reacted, but the PDP has kept an ominous silence on the issue. But
I mean, with what we're seeing on ground now, Mr. Kerry says that to the both leaders, that is the president and the candidate of the PDP, that they need to refrain from violence and appeal to them to accept the result of the elections, whatever outcome the result comes. So
he also needs to extract a commitment from the president not to use security forces to thwart the will of the people. He should not say, there's no process, there's no process that will not be accepted, okay, once it is free and fair. But then, we have been told by certain persons that whether it is free and fair or not, if you don't return our son, the country will burn.
But can one take those kind of comments seriously?
Okay, now, have you seen the reaction from the president condemning it?
But the security operatives,
have you read?
The security operatives, I'm not sure that is every comment that is made by any Nigerian
this thing was published
that
everywhere.
The leader or the president should comment on.
No, you mean even the PDP, even the campaign committee, just like the APC condemned violence in certain parts of the country.
If nobody is commenting on it, maybe it's not.
Where is the reaction of the president to that threat? Where is the reaction of the PDP to that threat? Where is the reaction? This is what we are talking about. Look, listen. What I said earlier.
Sorry, just a moment. Is it every comment about you that you respond to?
No, comments that have been widely published. I respond to every comment that is published about me. Any adverse comment that is widely published, I must react. Because we are talking of no less a person than the president himself and his supporters. And we signed an agreement to restrain your supporters. These are supporters saying that whether we win or lose, return our son or there will be a problem. Is that the way to campaign for your candidate? Is that the way? And there's no reaction from the president. So you are saying that this is the same attitude that made Boko Haram to rise. You don't nip such things in the bud.
You can't make such a link with this situation.
No, because this is how it rises. I told you before that if you see the old Sicily, where you had the rise of the Sicilian mafia and the rise of the Russian mafia called the Croatia, they arose because of the collapse of the state and overwhelming of security forces. As I speak with you, our waterways are not in control of our navy. It is another corruption under Jonathan. Look, listen. Listen, it's not in control. You give the security forces.
It would be good to be factual.
Yes, let me talk facts.
It would be good to be factual.
So let me talk facts. Let me talk facts.
And those are claims, isn't it?
No, not claims. They have contracted the policing of our waterways to private, small-time crooks. It is not under the... No, listen. It is not under the control of the Navy. Oh, you mean you don't know that? And you're in this country? The private armies overwhelmed the security forces on the high seas. And instead of Jonathan to tackle it, he said, look, listen, what I will do is that, please come and protect us. He now called the same people who were bunkering oil to come and protect the oil pipeline and gave them contracts to protect it. Now, where have you seen it in the world that the country, whole government, gives up its security to people, to a mafia gang?
All right, thank you so much, Mr.
To protect his own waterways. Have you seen it?
We have to go, but you know,
and tomorrow you will complain.
Those are very strong views.
But it's a fact.
Which need to be validated. Well,
it is a fact.
Thank you so much, Mr. Keyamo, for your views and your thoughts on the program. I really want to thank you for coming on the program. And unfortunately, we invited a PDP member, of course, Lagos PDP governorship aspirant, Mr. Babatunde Gbadamosi, so that we can have a balanced opinion. But all to this time, he hasn't told us exactly what has delayed him from coming. Of course, we sent out his invitation, and he's agreed to come on the program. Well, that's how far we can go on the program today. I really want to thank you for your thoughts. They've been saying, but I know that we can rejoin on the social media so that the conversations will continue. Thank you so much. And we have all the team here at the Channels TV headquarters in Lagos. I'm Sean Wakimbale. Bye for now.